This is the Rock-afire Restoration Part 17, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I'm going through with one of the most important steps in the restoration of the show, and that's actually building the stage. So to start, I had to create the stage digitally in AutoCAD, and that took some learning, but I did successfully convert the original 1981 stage blueprints that I have to this digital format. And then from there, I laid out the sheets of plywood on the model to see how I could most effectively use them with little waste. And then the structure of my stage is fairly similar to what was used originally, but not entirely the same. But the basic idea is to have a short wall that goes around the perimeter of the stage and also on the back of the stage. And then on top of that will be 2x8 joists. That was the recommended minimum joist size. I could have done 2x10, but that would have left me with less space in between the floor and the top of the joist. So I wanted to go with a 2x8 joist. And then, of course, I've got to put something on top of the joists to actually create a surface for the stage, and that will be 3 1/4 inch plywood boards. Now, in this video in particular, I'll be showing how I built center stage. Unfortunately, I didn't film the building of Billy Bob's stage because it was mainly just sort of a test to see if I could even accurately build a stage, and as it turned out, I could. But I did take some photos of its construction so you guys can see sort of how I built it. There are a few things that I need to change now that I have more experience, but for the most part, I think it turned out pretty good. All right, you guys, so I'm getting ready to start on the center stage, and I've set up a couple things. So ignore this 2x4 back here by the wall. This 2x4 right here, this is 14 feet long. Right here we have a screw, and it isn't screwed down right now, but it will be screwed in this piece of plywood, and that will basically allow me to use this as a protractor, a 12 or I guess a 14-foot long protractor. And then right here I have a hole which I'm going to stick a pencil into, and there will be plywood under this, and I'm going to use this. Essentially, I'm just going to pivot it, and go the total distance to get the radius of the stage. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be building the short walls for the center stage. These are the short walls for the Billy Bob stage. And so what I've done is I've laid out this piece of plywood, and I'm going to scooch it out a little bit farther to this side, and then I'm going to show you guys how I get those curves. All right, so now that I have the plates cut out, I'll go ahead and cut out the 2x4s. All right, you guys, so I took those 2 plates and I took those 2x4s that I just cut out, and now I'm going to nail them together. All right, so now that I'm done with the curved wall, I'm going ahead and I'm making these straight walls that are going to sit along the back side of the building, and they're going to support the 2x8s. Of course, in order to support those, I'm going to need this front wall, and then I'm going to need the back wall, and then the plywood will go on top. All right, so now that we have those plates cut out, I'm going to go ahead and attach the 2x4s, and then that will be a wall. All right, so I just finished that, and now I'm going to cut out the 2x8s that go across, and then after that we will do the plywood that goes on top. All right, so I cut out all the 2x8s, and I just sort of placed them on the stage just to get a good idea of the size, and also just kind of to see the progress. And so now I will lay out the plywood on the floor. We will do another radius for the plywood that goes on top, and then cut that out. All right, so as you guys can see, I have put the 2x8s back on now that I've cut out all of the sheets of plywood. I'm going to screw these down, and then we're going to put the plywood on top and then screw that down. So unfortunately, I didn't get any video of me screwing the plywood down to the joist, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I basically just lined it up with the level, made sure that both the back and the front were aligned as close as possible, and that actually took quite a while. It took a couple hours, and then I finally screwed it down. So as you guys can see, it turned out really good, and I'm hoping that now that I have even more experience, that Rolf's stage will be even easier.